YouTube because work or something. But still, we are the most interested here in Zoom. Thank you for this lecture. It's very helpful, actually.
Go ahead, you're online.
Okay, nice. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion behind the scenes at the New York Abu-Dhabi. My name is Yana Ovcharenko, and I am thrilled to facilitate this event, which is organized by EducationUSA, a global network supporting students in the exploring opportunities for higher education in the United States. And it's really very big pleasure to see people who is interested in studying in the United States and learning about one of the most innovative and globally connected universities in the world. Tonight, we are actually joined by three amazing individuals who are going to represent New York Abu Dhabi from their perspectives. These are Єлизавета, Julia, and Justin. And before we dive into the discussion, I would like you guys to briefly introduce yourself. So, Justin, let's start with you.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Justin Van Dyke, and I am an outreach officer for NYU's campus in Abu Dhabi. What that means is I like to say that I'm in the role of kind of an interpreter. So I help students from all around the world, and particularly, very strong, smart Ukrainian students like yourselves, understand the prospect of the university, understand how to apply, and what this whole process is like. And by the same turn, I also help admissions understand who you are. I help them understand what your strengths are, what your achievements are, and help them understand this context of a Ukrainian student.
Thank you, Justin. Lisa.
Hello, my name is Lisa. I study at NYU, and right now I'm in my fourth year. I study interactive media. It's in Arts and Humanities division. And I'm also a Flex alumni, 2018, 2019. Oh my, that was so long ago.
Thank you. And Yulia.
Yeah, hi. I was just thinking how long ago was 2018 and 2019, and I was like, my flex was in 2015, 16. So my name is Juliyeyu Timoshenko. I'm a journalist and communication specialist working in Ukraine. And I am 2021 NYU alumna. I graduated with a bachelor's in social research and public policy and minor in film and new media.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin, Lisa, and Yulia, for introducing yourself and for giving us glimpse into your unique journey with New York Abu Dhabi. And before we start, let me just briefly explain how everything will be proceed. I just will ask each of you questions in turn and giving everyone chance, to share their unique perspective. But if any of you feel inspired to add something to someone's response, feel free to jump in. Yeah, and just express your thoughts, because our today's panel discussion is meant to be engaging conversation, and I really hope that it will be. And at the end of the discussion, we will open the floor to the questions from people who are watching us now for our audience. So feel free to note down anything you would like to ask our speakers, and we will let you to do so at the end of our evening. Okay, so let's start. And my first question: New York Abu Dhabi is known for its unique approach to global education. So, Justin, as a representative of the university, could you give us an overview of what makes New York Abu Dhabi stand out in the global education landscape?
So I think, the big thing here is that it is this global network. When students apply, they're not asked to consider just one or even just two campuses, but we have 3 degree granting campuses. So the one in New York, one in Abu Dhabi, and one in Shanghai. And it functions kind of as a circulatory system. You know, we don't have one big hub, but we have all of these places, and both the students and the resources and everything's moved between them. So it's not a matter of just having one big headquarters and a small thing somewhere else, but it really is like this network that both students and the professors and the resources can move between them. And I think that's very unique, even compared to other universities that are global or who have campuses abroad. So it's a very different kind of model. I think especially so for students who are really interested in having a US degree, having an NYU degree, studying this kind of liberal arts and sciences curriculum, but also getting to do this on a global level. To do this in different places in the world is really a unique prospect.
Yes, thank you for wonderful overview. And as you have already mentioned, New York, Abu-Dhabbi is known for its uniqueness, and one of it is, still being a US campus, but located not kind of like inside of the US. So Lisa, despite being located in the UAE, New York, Abu Dhabi, it's considered an American campus. So from your perspective, how does this dynamic influence the student experience, and have you had a chance, to communicate with students from other campuses, maybe travel somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's really great that American University is located in the UAE, because it's completely different experience from you going to the university in the US, for example. And our student body is super diverse. And also the fact that you're living in the city, which has a lot of different nationalities represented, makes your experience very unique, I guess. And also as a student, you get a lot of study aways. I went to, I think, 4 different countries for different reasons, or maybe more than that. And then I could travel also to the US and study at New York University in New York. So that was also pretty interesting. So I think it's a mix of a lot of things, and I think it's something that you probably won't get in the US.
Nice. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And now I would like to suggest kind of turn to the admission process. So maybe Yulia, you can share how does the application process looks for international students, and maybe you can share some advice on it.
And so it's probably the worst thing to ask me out of all, because I've done this the latest compared to the most. I forgot, sorry, I'm forgetting words because it's like the end of the day. It's been a while since I've done that compared to Lisa, or I'm pretty sure Justin works directly with students, so he talks about application process all the time. For me, I remember that I was really surprised that NYU at my time allowed to use internal country exams for entry. So ZNO at my time, I don't know right now, I know that Ukrainian schools have a different test, NMT, I think. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but I know a lot of people would apply with that. And that's something very unique because a lot of other American universities require SAT or ACT. Me and my friends, we actually didn't really believe that would get us through. So all of us actually did pass the ACT or SAT test. I did SAT just to make sure and have additional exams. So we sort of applied with both. But I think that was kind of us focusing a lot on that more traditional system that we know of getting into university, where you apply with some sort of score, average grade or something like that, a number that's attached to you. And I really appreciated NYU's and just generally NYU's application process, because it seemed like the admissions genuinely wanted to know you as a person, and they wanted to find out what else do you do in your life, what makes you a unique student and student who can thrive in this kind of international, really diverse, really fast-paced environment in terms of academics and in terms of also traveling around the world. Would you be a great fit? And obviously because of that, they really, I think, paid a lot of attention on the extracurriculars, on the all the outside kind of hobbies and volunteering people, like students, applicants do, they've also really like paid attention to the essays, specifically the why NYU Abu-Dhabi essay. So obviously there is like one that's more like a personal statement about you and your life, or something that makes you you, and that's very up to the student to decide what to write about. But when it comes to the why NYU Abu-Dhabi, I think that was really important to for us to, like, as students as well, like as applicants applying, to really communicate why we think that we would enjoy to study in such a unique place like this, and why we think like we also could bring something to this place from our unique backgrounds and perspectives. Yeah.
Great, thank you for sharing. I think that it's kind of really interesting to know that application process is kind of different from typical application process to the US higher institutions. And I absolutely agree that showing your uniqueness, you know, is really important when you apply for the universities, but because actually they are looking for unique people. So it's a great strategy to shine as a unique person. Yeah, Justin, I would really happy if you add something, because you are kind of on the other side of application process, and maybe you can share some secrets with our students who are planning to apply for New York Abu-Dhabi.
Sure. I was just going to tell Julia that she's right on. You know, that's still the case. Those are the things that we're looking for. Of course, academics and those kinds of things make the base, but we do place a strong emphasis on seeing what students are doing outside of the classroom, how they're involved. So in essence, that system has remained the same. I won't go into the technical details, but we do, since there are no longer ZNOs, we don't have a new program in place to accept the new test, but we are test optional this year. So if you're interested in applying, that's something we can talk about. But as Julia mentioned, you know, it is this holistic process. We're looking at all of these indicators of academic excellence. And so if you can take the SAT or ACT and you feel like that's your best indicator, by all means, you know, submit that. But we also want to send the message that, you know, we don't make this comparison of apples and oranges. You know, we're not trying to translate you as a Ukrainian student into an American student and only look at it from that perspective. So I always say, you know, marshal your best case. Show us the things that indicate that you have the academic abilities and also the personal fit. As Julia mentioned, we still want to know why NYU. Unfortunately, we don't have that specific essay question anymore, but we have something similar to that. But I think, you know, even in broad terms, that's a really important question to be able to answer for any US university, to be able to say, okay, here are the reasons that this is a really good fit for me. Here's how it, you know, meets the needs that I have and the expectations, and will kind of help me carry on with my, you know, personal and academic goals. So regardless of, you know, that final essay question, I think for all US universities that you're applying to, it's really good to be able to have a very clear answer as to why you're applying, and that it's more than just, oh, because this university is ranked #1 and blah, blah, blah. You know, all of the universities know that they're ranked #1 for whatever that thing is. But are much more interested in hearing, you know, what are your reasons for ranking them so high? What can you do at that school that you feel like you can't do it at any other one? So being able to answer that question is very key.
Okay. So now I have a question for Lisa. So what was your answer for this question? Why New York, Abu Dhabi?
It took me a lot of time to figure out what I want to write in the essay, because I had no idea how the university looked like, how is it to live in the country, in a very different country from Ukraine, and also having an American university in there. So I think I was writing about the fact that it's like a meeting point for West and East that happens in the UAE. And I was writing about the diverse culture that is represented in the country. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, got it. Thank you for sharing. Okay, now I would like us to explore how students find actually their education. So Justin, maybe you can explain the funding option, the financial aid available for international students.
Sure. So for NYU Abu-Dhabi, we do have financial support for all admitted students, regardless of their nationality. And all of these awards are need-based. So we don't have any specific merit-based rewards. So for those of you who aren't familiar with those terms, merit would be for, like being the best basketball player or being the best physics student. At NYU Abu-Dhabi, it's just for being awesome overall. So if you're strong enough to get in, and you've completed your application for financial support, which is the CSS profile, then if you are admitted based on that profile, we will provide you with financial aid that's designed to meet your family's need. And this can cover a range of things, of course, starting with tuition and fees. We also have awards that can continue on to cover, housing or meals, and even, in the case of a 100% scholarship, so a full ride, so to speak, that could even include, 2 flights per year from home to campus. But it is really on each individual basis. When I'm explaining this to students, I really explain this in terms of equity, that the university as a whole has a certain amount of award grants that they can give out. And we distribute that equitably across all of the students who are admitted to ensure that everyone has the same chance of coming, regardless of their financial circumstances. So we do provide that, and we are need blind in the assessment process. That means when you apply, admissions decision is not made based on whether you can afford to pay or how much you can afford to pay. So that's generally how the financial aid works. But do make sure that you apply using the CSS profile. You can find all the applications online. There are very few things that are unforgivable in life, but missing a financial aid deadline, unfortunately, is one of them. So you want to make sure that you look and see when those are and make sure that you have your documents in on time. And of course, use resources like EducationUSA to learn how to do this. This can be a pretty complicated thing to navigate. So do make sure you have references that you can talk to when you're filling out that application.
Justin, do I understand correctly that you just have to fill in the application form, then fill in the CSS profile, and you are automatically, take part in kind of like competition, for the person who can be awarded by scholarship. Is it correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So for all 3 campuses, we do have scholarships based on the CSS profile. Sometimes there's specific majors and programs that will have like an additional essay question or additional funding for other things. But overall, for the main financial support at NYU Abu-Dhabi, it's just directly through that CSS profile. So you'll tell us in the Comment app that you are submitting your CSS profile and that you would like to be considered for that. That lets us know to look out for your application. And then you'll submit that CSS profile, and that's all you need to do. And students who are admitted, at the same time they receive their admissions letter, which a lot of students received last night or in the very early hours of this morning. They receive that decision along with a whole list of all the things that the financial support is covering and how that balances out, and what their family contribution is. So it's all included in that one letter.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Julia, Lisa, did you have your scholarship? Yeah, okay. It's great. Super. So now let's talk about the location. And my first question is for Lisa. How have you found living in Abu Dhabi as a student? What have been some of your favorite aspects of culture diversity there?
Abu Dhabi is very different. It's a unique city. First of all, I want to say that as a student, I live on campus, and campus is located not in the city, but like close to the city. It's like 15 minutes away from the city. It's located on the island, and technically there is no need to go somewhere into the city or somewhere else because all the things are available on campus, like dining halls, convenience store, gym, pool, anything you might need is located on campus. And sometimes there is no need to go to the city. Also, Abu Dhabi is not very walkable city. So usually you would just take a taxi or transportation to get somewhere, and you would barely see people walking on the streets apart from Corniche. Corniche is like a main street which goes along the sea. And there are also a lot of beaches. But I think the most fun activities, I would say, there are a lot of things you can do, and especially right now on Saadiyat Island, where the New York University is located, There are a lot of new things building, like Guggenheim Museum, Louvre was built a few years ago. Zayed National Museum is building now, National History Museum. So there are a lot of museums building up right now, and this district is gonna be called, or is already called, cultural district. So a lot of things you can do there, but also there are a lot of fun places to go. We have one island which is dedicated to having fun, and a lot of things. There's like Yas World, how's it called? Water World. A lot like how's it called? Aqua. I forgot the name for it, but like you can go and spend some time there. A lot of aquariums, also the see, I don't really know all of those things that are there because I don't usually go there, but you can have a lot of fun. And I know students do a lot of activities, but so far I really enjoyed going to the desert. And I think that's a very UAE thing to do because the desert is everywhere, and there are a lot of things you can do in the desert to get to know the culture.
Great, thank you for sharing. It sounds really attractive that there are various activities you can do after classes, so you are definitely, are not going to get bored there. Thank you for sharing. And you have mentioned that people usually use public transport or taxi. Is it available there? How much does it cost?
Yeah, so we have free shuttles that go from the universities to some of the places in the city. Mostly those are malls, and it has, I think, four different locations in the city. Then there's also a public bus that goes from the universities to the city, and it's pretty cheap. But I think mostly people use taxis. They're also not super expensive. But they are the fastest, and every time they're available 24/7. So I think if I go somewhere, then I usually take either the shuttle or the taxi.
Okay, got it. Sounds like pretty available. So, Yulia, as someone who lived there, actually, my question is, what lasting impression has the country left on you? Maybe you miss something, you just sometimes getting nostalgic and,
Well, this is something that I'm not gonna like sugarcoat. I have made the conscious decision to not come back to the country after the start of the full-scale invasion because of its alignment with Russia and just, well, on some things. They've been playing sort of like the middle player in this game, but it's been disappointing, some of the things that they've done. And something that's also important to know, the university also had a disappointing, a little bit response to how they've supported students when the war has started. So I'm not saying that this is like terrible and like they should be canceled or something like that. And I'm still like really grateful to NYU Abu-Dhabi for a lot of things. But sending a mutual letter to Russian students and Ukrainian students, allowing Russian men to stay on campus, and because they're in danger of war back home, and also not contacting alumni when the war has started, even though it's something that, the community could have helped. Luckily, that's where the community, like not administration of the university, but the community stepped up. Like we've received a lot of support from our friends, classmates, and that's what I've realized was the biggest thing that I've gotten from NYU Abu-Dhabi. And it's not even like academics or my diploma, although that has been amazing too, but specifically just the network of people and people who support you in the time of crisis. As in for the country, I think I do appreciate a lot that it opened my eyes on the Middle East and educated me on the Middle East in the ways that I would have not otherwise learned about, the region, the country, the culture, different cultures, because you also like, obviously UAE is a sort of like also like a very mixed pot of different people living there, and you get to learn about like a lot of people just in general. And I do miss like the diversity of food the most. Abu Dhabi has a lot of great, not fancy, very like small family-owned restaurants from literally every single part of the world, from like Ethiopia to like Korea to like, I don't know, Fiji. you would probably be able to find that. And only when I moved back to Kyiv after graduating, I started really missing it, because I was like, what do you mean I cannot find like a good Ethiopian restaurant in Kyiv? Or like, what do you mean there's not like a Balkan restaurant that I really love, or like a Korean? Like, there you can really feel the food is really, really authentic, because it's usually made by expat families, small business owners who came from those parts of the world, and they usually do not cater in terms of like fancy experience. You can find that as well, obviously, because UAE is known for that fancy experience. But as a student who obviously doesn't have such a like big budget, you also will find enough options of really affordable but still really cool cultural experience in the city and in the country overall.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you actually for raising very important topics, because of course we cannot just close our eyes and pretend that they do not exist, and it's important to talk about this. Thank you, Julia. Justin, my question is, are there any opportunities to join, like after class clubs, participate in some activities, and can you tell more about them if actually they are these opportunities?
Actually, I think I may punt this one over to Lisa, since she has the most direct experience with this and probably the most recent knowledge of that. So they do indeed exist, and I think Lisa actually has quite a few to mention, so I'll let her answer this one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there are a lot of things you can do on campus. First thing, we have student interest groups. I think we have a lot of them, maybe over 40, and they are very different. They can be religious, they can be based on different nationalities, based on different hobbies. I'm a part of one student interest group, which is called Abu-Dhabbi Christian Fellowship, so it's a religious group. But it's student-led, and I am a treasurer, which means that I manage finances. We're the ones who organize events every semester. We're the ones who invite people, who advertise our events, who run these events. So that's one thing you can do. You can join a student interest group if you're interested in whatever this group is doing, or you can start your own if there is none like this, and you can start the one on whatever, knitting or anything that you can think of. Then in terms of sports, we have university teams. I'm also a part of a volleyball team. I'm a co-captain for our team, and we just came back from Shanghai. We had an athletics trip to Shanghai to participate in the competition there. So you can take some classes in sports, but you can also join a team apart from that. And also, if you do not want to be a part of the team, but you just want to keep fit and take some classes, there are also some weekly classes which you can just register for and go. Those are just two things, but there are a lot of volunteering opportunities that a lot of offices organize. So you can go to the beach and clean the trash, for example, or there are a lot of things you can do apart from classes. And I think that really depends on whether you want to do something or you just want to lay down in your bed during the weekend. So that's based on your desire to do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I think that you're absolutely right, because people can be different. Some of them are really introverted, some of them are extroverted. And I think that sometimes it's okay to lie in the bed, but it's great to have an opportunity to go out and to do something interesting. And by the way, do students allowed to work on campus? Because I know that is kind of like a typical practice in the United States, and international students can work kind of like 20 hours per week, if I'm not mistaken. So is it the same there?
Yes, students are allowed to work 15 hours max a week, and there are a lot of work opportunities. It can be research, it can be working for a professor as a student assistant, it can also be work in the office, and I also work in the admissions office as an admissions ambassador. That means I give tours, I answer the phone calls, so a lot of things, like I support the candidate weekend, that's a part of my job. So I think half of our student body is working. So you can for sure do that. And I know a lot of seniors, a lot of fourth-year students, they also search for some opportunities to work in the city. They just take less classes and then they go and work to make sure they find some job later after graduation.
You know, Lisa, I just wonder, are there 24 hours in your day? Because you do so many different things. You study, you participate in some clubs, you work. So it seems like you, you know, like has some superpower.
Yeah, I'd say my life there is very active. I do a lot of things. But I think that depends on the semester because, for example, in the beginning of the semester, I'm quite free because the things are just starting, you know. But then in the end of the semester, it's just getting crazy, especially this semester that just finished because we just had our candidate weekends and I had a lot of things happening, and it's also the end of the semester, which is the hardest period in terms of academics. Like I had so many projects. I'm working on my capstone, and it was like but then I finished it, and now I'm on my break. So we'll see how the next semester is gonna go.
Nice, nice. Thank you for sharing. Julia, what about you? How was your experience of studying, participating in different extracurricular activities, and how did you manage your time? Since I understand that probably it was time full of different activities, and it really took, you know, the skill of managing time.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about that, and I can talk about some other things that I think are really cool. Well, I've been doing, I've been trying different work on campus, and I think at first I tried to do some research, and it wasn't even like in my field because you don't have to actually study in the field where you do, like where you work as a research assistant as a student, because normally they give very monotonous kind of like task, whether it's like collecting data, whether it's like measuring something like very simple, so you don't have to exactly be like a student. Like I was doing psychology research, although I'm not a psychology student and I've never studied psychology. But yeah, so like, and I think they actually hired me because they needed somebody to understand Ukrainian, because they did like a sample group in Ukraine on the psychology research project. So that's cool. But then I found really cool internship, and it was like my dream to do it, and I got to do it in my last year. And it was at the Arts Center, and the University Arts Center, it's sort of like almost like its own entity, where obviously it has a lot of program events and things catered to students, but not only. They go beyond that, and they almost try to blend into this whole ecosystem of cultural and art institutions in Abu-Dabí specifically, and specifically on Saadiyat Island, which is the island where the university is located. This island has, like, for example, Louvre that they opened in like 2019, I think, or 2020, no, 9 or 18, I don't remember. Yeah, they have Louvre, they have other like, I think they're someday they will finish Guggenheim. I don't know when that's going to happen. Like, it's taking them forever, but someday that will happen, and it will probably be like really, really cool. So the art center does a lot of like events. They bring a lot of artists from around the world. They Ukrainian band Daha Braha performed there once, and they had like a residency there, so they stayed on campus, and they had like several shows, like several concerts that they were playing. And I remember that a lot of people from specifically Ukrainian community in the city were like coming on campus to visit their concert, and that was really cool. So so I worked as a production assistant, or like production intern there, and that's kind of like doing everything, kind of running around from like communicating with artists to just like, I don't know, like buying some sort of like things that needed for performance last minute, or just bringing food to the artists, or like calculating small budgets. But it's really helpful, and for me that was really cool job to have something that's so like not in your laptop 24/7, because I was already doing that with my academics. The stuff that I studied, it required all attention to the screen, so I really wanted to find some kind of campus job that was completely different, and it would distract me from that. And this was great, because sometimes you would have, your job would be sometimes to just like stand and watch the performance and open the door maybe like once or twice which is amazing, right? So I think that, but something that I also like wanted to mention, I think what NYU Abu-Dhabi and just overall American campuses teach you, but NYU Abu-Dhabi is very unique in that case because of how diverse it is. It teaches you how to coexist in such a diverse environment, but also stand up for yourself and for your values, for your identity. And I've learned that from specifically Palestinian students on campus because they've been doing amazing advocacy campaigns, and they were just exercising a lot of their just overall beliefs and advocacy for Palestine in classrooms when it's applicable to academic discussions, but also outside. And I think I give a lot of kudos to them because they've shown how you can make your voice heard in the institutions that maybe do not agree with you 100%, or they are not ready to listen to you 100%. So for me, I've had several instances where I had to advocate for Ukraine and Ukrainian culture in opposite of Russian, because I've seen how Russian colonialism was exercised even on campus by students, by professors who were just sort of like existing in the academic sphere of just, Russian studies and stuff like that. But also from things like food, like our dining hall once put like a flag, a Russian flag above all the Eastern European food. And this is something that happens in all American colleges, or foreign. Like, this is not unique, and I'm not like saying that, NYU Abu-Dhabi is bad. But I think, and obviously it is the job of students to then like advocate and to bring this up to either administration to make their voices heard. And I've had to talk to different people, and I was met with different, obviously, views, but it's still like the place encourages that, and it encourages to have that dialogue. So you essentially, as a student, you learn a lot of how you go about these kind of things. And I think I've learned a lot about how to advocate about Ukraine and how to talk about Ukraine to people from completely different backgrounds. Let's say it's a person coming from Latin America, whether it's a professor or a student, because sometimes your professors, not all of your professors are also like American. Or if it's somebody, like from Canada or like United States, like their views and their perspectives are going to be different. So you need to know how to speak to them. And I think, again, this is like something that you do in the classroom, in your extracurricular activities, and just by sort of existing and living on campus.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It seems like it was really enriching and valuable experience for you. And thank you for articulated really important topic, kind of, because it's something that we are trying to prepare our students for, that you will go to study abroad and you will meet people, sometimes you are not happy to meet, and it's kind of like a part of life, and you have to know the ways to communicate with them, to articulate your values, to set boundaries. So yeah, thank you for sharing this. And I believe that last block that I have for you guys, it's like career prospects after graduation. So Justin, how does Nью-Йорк Abu-Dhabi supports its students in preparing for their career? I mean, maybe some, consultations. Of course, students are studying there to prepare for the career, like it's obvious, but maybe you just advise on mentor them, to choosing their career path after graduation.
Sure, I can give kind of an overview, and then I'm sure both Lisa and Julia can talk about the specifics of how this happened. But I think the important thing to recognize is this is not something that just happens at the very end. Like, you study, and then think, okay, what am I going to do with all of these things that I just learned and all these experiences? Who's going to pay me to go on for this? It really is a process from the beginning. We want students to start working with the Career Development Center, and even if they don't know their major yet, to start thinking about, what are the kinds of careers or fields I might be interested in, and start looking at those opportunities. So it can be, basic help like writing your CV and interview skills, up to really kind of defining what those potential careers are. Likewise for awards, if you're going on to graduate study, helping you find different, scholarships and programs, things like Fulbright and those kinds of programs. So everything from kind of those basic details to tracking down the internship that's a really good fit for you. We have a whole platform called Handshake, where you can learn about these opportunities, connect directly with them. We also have opportunity fairs on campus where employers and grad schools come to specifically, recruit students for those programs. So it really is a process that's throughout the 4 years of study. We want students to, start getting that practical experience, but also building up a network so that, when you get to your final year, you have connections, you have an idea of what you want to do. So it really is, a process throughout, all 4 years of a student study. So yeah, I'll pass it on to the students to describe a little bit more of how that worked for them.
Thank you for the overview. And yeah, Lisa, how does it work for you? Do you have an idea what are you going to do after the graduation? And do you believe that New York Abu-Dhabi University equip you, with essential tools, essential understandings, and just, some advice and help with your career path?
Yeah, I guess that's now the hardest question for me. Because I'm in my 4th year and I'll
You
be
still have
finishing
plenty
soon.
of time.
Not really, but I don't know what I'm gonna be doing after I finish the university, and I think it's not because, well, I think it's happening because I don't know specifically what I want to do, because my major is very wide and I like a lot of things about it, but I don't know where it can be applied a lot in real life. And I'm trying to see, okay, where can I use my skills, the ones I have? I think if you do like economics or computer science, that path is a bit, I don't want to say easier, but it's different from arts. So that's why I'm not for sure decided right now. But the university does give a lot of opportunities to network with the companies in the UAE specifically, but I also do not plan to stay in the UAE. That's why it's a bit more complicated. So I don't know. I think Yulia might speak more on that.
Okay, thank you for sharing your perspective. And I think that it's absolutely okay. And I think actually my question, it depends on the context, because we cannot, consider it without the context. So yeah, there are a lot of external, I believe, moments that influence your future path. But yeah, actually, Yulia, looking back, how did studying in New York, Abu Dhabi influence your career path?
So much stuck here, and I'm just thinking in my head like what to choose because I could talk about this for like literally hours. I think every single class and every single thing I've taken in NYU Abu Dhabi, although at the time it was very confusing, how will I apply that in my life? Whether I've taken an elective class that is typography, or whether it's my social research and public policy class that's like, I don't know, like introduction to sociology, or whether that's my another like class that's called like economics of gender, or it's a film class because I did a film minor and I was studying in Madrid and I made a documentary on like a Madrid hair salon because that was a part of the documentary class. Every single thing, and that's like me speaking only in like 3 years of life after graduation, I found a way to apply that in my current work. And there was a moment for every single of those classes when I was sitting at like work meeting, or when I say work, it doesn't always mean that it's like basic work that I do every day for like my employer, but just generally my other projects, the things that I do outside. And I think, Abu Dhabi students always do like a lot of things outside, as we like see from Lisa's example. Every single thing that I've been doing and engaging myself in, I was like, oh, I remember learning about this in like this class, or I remember us having a discussion about this in this class, or like, oh, like how strange, like yes, I'm not like a video editor right now, but I took like this class on post-production and there was like a blog on color correction in videos, and like this happened right now that I create like content on social media and I know how to color correct, like, isn't it great? That didn't look like that when I was in NYU Abu-Dhabi. I actually also, like, I didn't know what I wanted to study, like, oh, sorry, like, no, sorry. I didn't know what I wanted to do in terms of like job afterwards. And I had like sort of like mini crisis a summer after graduation. And I think something that like students need to know, and I don't think it's been like talked enough here, like, and applicants need to know, it's going to be really hard because the environment is really competitive, and you need to learn how to either sort of, sorry for the word, suck it up, or stop comparing yourself to others, because your classmates are going to be some of the most amazing people in this world. They're going to be people who are like, even before going into NYU Abu-Dhabi, they like started an NGO in their country, and they've been like helping, I don't know, children with like disabilities, and they've run like projects, or they've built like a plane model because they're so much into engineering, or they've like already participated in like student UN meetings around the world, like and that's really difficult, especially if you're coming from Ukraine and yes, you've done like some cool things here, but on the global scale, sometimes you're like, okay, like for me, it was really difficult because I'm just like a girl from Ukrainian village. How am I fitting here? And that hit me really hard at the start. And then there was like the middle, like the second and third year, junior, like sophomore and junior, when I kind of forgot about it. I felt less pressure and it was fine. But then in the senior year, it hit me again, because I was looking at all of my classmates and a lot of them had things figured out. They knew that they wanted to go into academia, so they had like masters lined up, or they knew that they wanted this specific job, so they had this lined up, or they knew that they just want to stay in the UAE or go to that specific country, and they had some sort of plan. I didn't have any plan, and that was really stressful. And I didn't want to really come back to Ukraine, but I did come back to Ukraine. And obviously, my story is like a little bit different because 6 months after I came back to Ukraine, the full-scale war started. But that was the moment when, like, when the war started, I was the most, like, I was really happy, although not an, obviously very contradictory feeling, that I was in Ukraine and I was with the set of skills, knowledge, and specifically network that I have from NYU Abu-Dhabi and all of those things I got from NYU Abu-Dhabi. And I knew that I could use every single one of those to do something really impactful in Ukraine in that moment, because of my international connections, because of my, like, obviously knowledge, English, because of just the skills of advocating for myself that I've learned in NYU Abu-Dhabi. And my clarity on what I want to do came later, and it was boosted by the crisis. And obviously, you shouldn't rely on hoping that that's going to happen for you in the future. But sometimes it's just more like a personal thing. Like one day you experience something personal and you have some more clarity. And it's very not linear after graduation. Like, I think that's also really hard to recognize. You don't go like step by step, like you've been going like from one grade to another, to university to another, like sophomore, junior year, senior year. After that, you could be doing so many different things. Like right now, a lot of my friends who stayed in the UAE, in Dubai, yes, they have an amazing salaries, but their lifestyle is very different. And I know that their lifestyle is not something that I would have enjoyed. And I know that I've talked to a lot of them and they feel like they're getting great work experience, but their outside life is not that diverse and great. And for some people that works, for some people they yearn for something more, and you figure out those things later, and that's okay. And you change jobs and you learn. So after NYU Abu-Dhabi, it can be very scary because you've been supported financially for 4 years, you've been traveling around the world, you've had all of these amazing opportunities, and obviously your brain will tell you that, oh my gosh, like I will graduate and all of this will disappear. And that's not true. And I haven't seen that being true for a single friend of mine who also studied like abroad. They've all found ways to engage themselves in incredible projects or found like incredible jobs. So there's obviously always, I guess, time and opportunity, and that you just have to sort of go through it and recognize that it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you articulated so many realistic topics, you know, so our students can, you know, have realistic expectations. Yeah, so Justin, Lisa, Yulia, I'm really grateful for your experience, for your thoughtful and kind of really inspiring thoughts, and yeah, I'm really grateful. And I think that now we are ready to open our floor to questions from our audience. So if you have any questions for our guests, please feel free to raise your hand, yeah, and unmute yourself and actually ask them. And I know that you can leave your questions in the chat. And I think that Sasha will help me if there are any questions in our YouTube or Facebook. So yeah, questions. Have you got any questions? Yeah, Dasha, you are welcome. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question about essays, because I have a lot of activities, I have a lot of extracurriculars, but it's pretty hard for me to follow it in one essay, to follow it, to make it right, to make it, to show all, but not to say, not to show my CV actually, but just to be myself. Maybe you have some advices on that, on how to better write an essay, and is it better to write with things you do, with like your extracurriculars, or it's better just to not to mention them in the essays?
So I'll go ahead and chime in on this one. I'd say these are kind of two different things. So we do want to hear all about these things that you're doing outside of the class. And typically we'll see that in the list of your extracurriculars. And as you mentioned, the CV, if you feel like you're having trouble kind of fitting in all of your activities and things you do in the activities section of the Common App, it's actually fine to include like a short CV. There's a place under the writing section where you can kind of paste in just like a brief CV, and that can be helpful. So if you feel like you're struggling to find a place for those things, that's a good way to put it. For the personal essay, I would say, you know, certainly you can talk about extracurricular activities, but you shouldn't talk about all of them. I mean, you can maybe talk about one, but really the point of the essay is to tell us something that we can't find out just by looking at your list of activities or your grades or, you know, the school that you went to. It's a place to share something new and to really set yourself apart. So if that does involve talking about an extracurricular activity that's really important to you, by all means, you can do that. But it's really more meant to kind of give us almost like a self-portrait. It's kind of a more artistic endeavor. It's a chance to let us know, you know, how you see the world, what's important to you, and these kinds of things. So usually my advice to students when they're doing this is to, you know, reflect a little bit more about, you know, what you want to share, and then use that essay topic as a way to do that.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, Lisa, you have to add something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. When I was applying, Yulia was the only person whom I knew from the university, and I was texting her, and I'm like, "Can you please take a look at my essay?" And I sent it to her, and her feedback like, "Don't write about like just a list of your activities, but the things you've done." And I'm like, "But what should I write about?" And then she was like, "Just take like one thing that is the most important for you and write about it. It does not have to be like anything, any kind of achievement, but it can be how you as a person developed at some particular situation. How did you feel? How did it impact your life? How did it change your life?" So I think that's the biggest advice for this personal statement, is that you do not just list the things you've done, but you write about your personality. So thank you, Yulia, that you helped me at that time.
I forgot
that
about
was-
that completely.
Yeah, and then I received an invitation for a Kenya weekend, and I wrote to her right away that I was invited for Kenya weekend.
What a
That's
story.
Yeah, what a story. I feel then Lisa would, I would have the same with Lisa. I would ask her something, and we have this
Historical.
Yes.
Turkey, you know, helping each other. So yeah, we are Ukrainians. We have to help each other. Great. Yeah, united. And actually, I think that I kind of found words that I will be associating New York Abu-Dhabi with like diversity, because I have heard it today so many times. So it's like a motto, you know, our tonight's motto. Okay, thank you. Dasha, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I can always come up with questions because I'm TV presenter, but for now, I want to ask about I would be on a summit in Dubai in the beginning of January, and I would like to visit campus in person. And I wanted to ask, is it possible? Because as far as I know, all Ukrainians would be in travels during this period. So I think this is a question for Justin to ask, and how is that possible? Is it possible?
So I'm not sure exactly if admission staff will be around at that time. You can always write to them and say, you know, I'm going to be in town at this point, and you know, there may not be any organized activities going on, I think, because it's during the winter break. But you're always welcome to come and just kind of you know, go to the bookstore, go around campus and do those kinds of things. But I'd have to know the exact dates, but you can just write directly to admissions and they can let you know. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that also this is part of our selection process for students who apply. So if you apply and you have you know, a very strong application, the last step of this process is actually to come to campus. We will fly you to campus, we'll send you your plane tickets and accommodations to come and really experience the university. You know, take sample classes, have interviews, really see how campus works, what classes are like, and see the city. So this is a required part of the process, and depending on when you apply, there's a weekend. So that's you know, all students who end up at the university do have a chance to see the university first before they're ultimately admitted.
Sounds really great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dasha, for your questions. Guys, I see that there are other people. Maybe you also have some questions. I think that it's kind of like a unique opportunity. Yeah, Alina?
Yeah, thank you. So thank you so much for your stories. It's really unique and it's so important to hear, and especially about like essays. It's also great. So thank you for that question. I have a specific question about maybe master degree, maybe some kind of details about taking master. Maybe it's like kind of an opportunity to have master's exchange in our campuses. So yeah, I'm interested in it. Thank you.
So at the current moment, our master's offerings are a little bit more limited. We have a Master of Fine Arts, one in economics, and also there's a new MBA program that's starting next year with the Stern School of Business. So that's about all we have right now. So they're not really comprehensive. So I'm not sure exactly what kind of exchange programs or things we have. But if you write me an email, I'll be happy to connect you with the Director of Graduate Admissions, and we can figure something out from there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Justin, is it okay if I put your email in the chat so people can reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. And actually, I can put it in my NYU email here.
Okay, nice. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Yeah, Yulia, go ahead with your question.
It was really interesting to hear your stories, and I have a question about the Common Application School report. I wanted to ask our Ukrainian student, how do they get it? Because for Ukrainian school, it's not really common to, you know, have a school report, and a lot of school counselors, they do not want to do it. So yeah, I wanted to hear your story. How did you do it?
So maybe I can talk about kind of what the school report is and kind of what these requirements are. And Lisa and Yulia, if you have anything else to add. So usually, you know, in a lot of countries, there are schools that don't have a specific like university counselor, or maybe not careers or even like school psychologist. So at the very basic part for this Common App, we just need someone from your school who, in official capacity, can submit this information. So it doesn't have to be the letter of recommendation or anything big like that. We just need to be able to have someone who can send your official transcripts and school documents. If there's literally no one that you know of who can do that, write me and we'll work through it. But that's kind of the basic, the part that you start at, just to find someone who's officially, in some official capacity, can submit these documents and say, yes, you are a student at this school, here are your official grades, all of this does exist. So that's the basic part of the school report. If you have trouble finding that person, of course, please let me know. Also, a lot of times EducationUSA can help with issues like this as well because they have some experience there. But yeah, I'll let Lisa maybe mention if she has any other tips.
Yeah, so I started filling the application very early, and I think in general it took me 2 months to finish it. And a big part of it was working along with the teachers from my school and with how's it called? Like a director, principal at school. Trying to like understand, okay, you need to do this, and doing translation. So it did take a while. And I was trying to explain them, yes, I'm applying to American high school, American university, and this is how the process looks like, and this is what I need you to do. And like, it took a lot of time, but they were very helpful. So I think it's doable. It just requires a lot of time and patience from your side.
Yeah, you actually have to help your school representatives, to find out how everything works. Maybe, just sit with them and explain what they have do. So yeah, because as you mentioned, it's not typical for Ukraine, to fill in those forms. So yeah, just help them. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if there aren't any questions, my last one will be you, Justin, Yulia, and Lisa, give one advice for students who, wants to study in the US universities and they may be afraid, to start their application or have some, inconveniences. So let's inspire and advise something to them.
I can be really quick. Just gonna say, do it, apply to every university you want, because if you don't, then you definitely will not get in. But if you apply, there is still really high chance to get in. I was really doubting that I can make it into Abu-Dabі, literally that was like a miracle to me. And it's nice because this conversation actually made me remember those moments, like remember that night when I found out that I got in. Because, and this is gonna be like sarcastically a joke, because I don't care what you feel or like what you want, but we need more Ukrainian students abroad, and we need more Ukrainian students on American campuses specifically, because we need to be changing a lot of conversations about how Ukraine has been looked through in academic discourse overall in these last whatever years. And it's just, you're doing big job, not just for yourself, for your own like education and career, but you're also doing a huge service to the country. So please do it.
Thank you,
I
Yulia.
would say do not be afraid, and the world is much bigger than you can imagine. And this is the way for you to explore it, to grow. And at the moment, and even when I was applying, I could not even imagine where I would. And I've been to so many countries. I've seen so many different things. I've met so many people. I've learned so much. So it just opens a lot of doors for you. So just don't be scared to go into those doors and try it out.
Thank you, Lisa. Justin.
And mine is a combination of those, I would say. If this is something that interests you, pursue it, and you don't have to do it alone. As Yulia was saying, this idea that a single journey, or a journey starts with a single step. If this is something you're interested in today, take the step to start this, start researching, write me an email. It's my job to help you through this process. And also know that you don't have to do it alone. You know, I know it can seem really daunting when you have this big, complicated common application, and maybe you have officials in your school that don't know how to do this and are reluctant, and you feel like there are all of these things against you. You don't have to do that all by yourself. You can find other people. You know, you can see here clearly Lisa and Julia have already, you know, been in touch and been a part of each other's journeys. And it does take, you know, this community to do it. So if you're intimidated in some way, it seems like it's really overwhelming, know that there are a lot of resources and people that are out there to help you, and they're excited to help you along with this journey. And it truly is life-changing, have you seen today. It's not always going to be a really clear path, you know, and there are going to be, you know, struggles, and it's going to be hard to go through. But I promise you, it's really, really a journey worth taking.
Yes, thank you, Justin. And yeah, I just want to mention that, guys, if you feel that your journey starts being overwhelming, unbearable, and exhausting, you don't really need to be alone. Education USA is here for you. You can always sign up for free consultations, and you can just go to this consultation and say something, Yana, I cannot do this. So what should I do? How can I, you know, like cope with everything? And we will definitely help you. We will mentor and advise you. Yeah, you can just sign up for free consultations, or, you know, reach out to us via email or our social media. Yeah, and we will be more than happy to help you guys. We are actually here for you. So, heartfelt thank you, Lisa, Julia, and Justin, for your wisdom, for your stories, for your experience. I think that it was really valuable and inspiring. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope that you have really gained valuable insights and thoughts, and now you know, kind of have an understanding what makes New York, Abu-Dhabi such a unique and a special place to study in. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening, and let's be in touch. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.